Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be looking at this hospital data analytics dataset. I actually downloaded this dataset from Cargo and we'll be using it to carry out descriptive analytics. So in one of my previous video, I talked about what data analytics is all about and the different types of data analytics. Where we talked about descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, and we said that descriptive analytics tells us what's happened. It helps us to it gives us information regarding what has already happened in our data set. So we'll be looking at how we can carry out descriptive analytics in our data sets. If you take a look at this, you see we have some questions we would want to analyze or want to answer from this dataset. For example, what are the most common medical conditions among patients? What is the average length of hospital stay across all patients? What percentages of patients were readmitted after discharge? Which procedures are most frequently performed? What is the distribution of patient outcome? What is the total healthcare cost incurred for each medical condition? What is the average patient satisfaction score per condition or procedure? How many patients fall within different age brackets? What is the gender breakdown of patients across different conditions? And which age group has the highest number of readmissions? So you could see we have all the what, which, how. You just want to get information regarding your data set. So today I will not be going into data cleaning or exploratory data analysis. I've already gone through this data set and it's a clean data set, so I won't focus more on data cleaning or data exploration. We'll be focusing on carrying out descriptive analytics. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to load in those libraries we'll be needing, and as usual, pandas, numpy, matplotlib, pyplot and seaborn. These are the four major libraries we would be needing, and when we are done with that, we now need in our data set, right? So we have to read that in, and we'll be using the pd.read_csv method to do that. So all you have to do is to pass in the 5 parts where you have this data set downloaded on your system. So remember I said earlier that I downloaded this dataset from Cargo. So if you want to work along with me, I'll be dropping the link on the video description section. You can go ahead and click on that link and download the dataset as well. So after that, I'll be using the .head method to read the first 5 rows of this dataset. I want to see what my dataset is all about. So you can see we have the patient ID, the age, the gender column, the condition, which disease condition does the patient have, the procedure, the costs, the length of stay. When we talk about length of stay, is how long is this patient or how long has this patient be admitted into the hospital facility. Then we have readmission, and for readmission is yes when a patient has been treated, discharged, and is later brought into the hospital environment as an emergency condition and he or she has to be attended to once more. Okay, then we have outcome and satisfaction. So we'll be looking through this data set and we'll be answering these questions which we've outlined already. So the first question we have here is, what are the most common medical conditions among patients? So remember we have this column where we have conditions, right? So we want to find out what is the most common medical condition. Before I go ahead to do that, I want to check if this dataset has any missing values. So you calling on the .isNA method, and the .sum method will give me the summation of missing values in each column. So with this you could see we have 0 missing values in each column, right? So now I can go ahead and answer my first question, which is, what is the most common medical condition among patients? To answer this question, I'll be using the group by method. So if you've watched my previous videos regarding Python, where I teach you how to make use of Python, then you must have come across my group by data analysis video where I taught you how to make use of dot group by method. So the dot group by method is a powerful tool for data analysis, and it helps us to split our data into groups based on one or more criteria. So the criteria we are using here is condition. We want to split our data set into these various conditions, right? So, and when we are done with that, we'll be counting the number of patients IDs in each of these groups or in each of these conditions. So we'll be using the dot group by method, passing in the column which contains the group we are splitting by, in this case condition, and the column we want to carry out our summary statistics, in this place our patient ID. So I'll be adding the dot count method because that's what is going to help us to count how many patient ID we have within each of our condition groups, and we'll be calling the dot sort value so that we can get the group with the highest condition value on top. So you can see we have fractured leg. We have 67 patients who came in with a case of fractured leg. We have 67 patients who came in with the case of heart attack, 66 patients who came in with allergic reaction, 66 patients who was admitted due to appendicitis, 66 patients who came to the healthcare facility due to cancer, and the list we have 64 patients with osteoarthritis as the cause. Okay, so using this method we've been able to get the most common medical condition among patients, and with this we can say that the most common medical condition is fractured leg, heart attack, allergic reaction, appendicitis, cancer, or fractured arm. So these are the top 5 most common medical conditions among patients. Next, I'll be creating a chart to get better insight. Okay, so what will I do? I'll be using the dot group by method. Just if you take a look at this is the same calculations or the same code we use to get our answer, right? So all I have to do now is to add this dot plot method and specify that I want to create a bar chart. Okay, so dot plot kind equals to bar. Then I will be using the plt.title to add the name of my bar chart and plt.show to allow my chart to show up. Okay, so with this you can see we have fractured leg, heart attack, allergic reaction, appendicitis, cancer. These are the most common medical conditions among patients in this data set. So the next question we want to answer is, what is the average length of hospital stay across all patients? So on average, how many days does a patient is being admitted in the hospital? So to do that, all we need is the column that contains the length of stay values. In this situation, it is called the length of stay, right? So if I go ahead and look at my data set, let me scroll up, you'll see the length of stay column that contains how long each patient have resided. So if you want to get the average length of stay of patient, all you have to do is to get this column and call on the dot min method, and you're able to get the average length of stay. So let's see what I did. So you can see df length of stay, and I'll be adding the dot main. You know, this for average, this gives you the average value, and I also added the round method so that we can get our values rounded to 1 decimal place. So you can see we have the average length of hospital stay as 37.7 days, which is approximately 38 days. So the next question here is, what is the average length of hospital stay by condition? So I would advise you to go ahead, pause this and try and see if you can answer this question by yourself. Okay, after pausing this and trying to write your codes to answer this, when you are done you can go ahead and then play this and see how I went ahead to answer this. This will help you so that you will not just be watching my videos, but you'll be in a situation where you are also learning how to analyze data sets for yourself. So if I go ahead and see how I went about answering this question, the same process, I group by our medical condition column because we are looking for the average length of stay, right? So what's the column we want to carry out our calculation on is called the length of stay column. And what are we grouping by? We're grouping by our condition column. Okay, I know using the dot group by method can be a little bit tricky, but just remember that the first column is the column you want to group by. That's the column that contains those categorical variables you are grouping your data sets by, while the second column is the column where you want to carry out your calculation or your statistics on. So for example, we want to group by our different medical condition and we want to look at the average length of stay. Okay, so we are calling the dot mean method on this column right here. So remember that the dot mean will give you the average value, right? And we'll be adding the dot sort values to sort our values in descending order. We want to get the highest, the condition with the highest length of stay on top of our table. So if we go ahead and look at this, we'll see that cancer is the medical condition that has the highest average length of stay, then followed by prostate cancer, which has 41 days as its average length of stay. We have heart attack 41 days, stroke 40 days, and fractured leg 39 days. So you can see these are the top 5 medical conditions with the highest average length of stay in the hospital. We can now go ahead and create a bar chart. Remember, I always used to say that not everybody is good with table, so always remember that in any situation where you can use a bar chart to give us an alternative understanding to your data set or to your calculation, then ensure to make use of it. So I'll be showing you a bar chart that shows us this is the same information we just got here. So to create this bar chart, all I did was same process. Remember that we'll save this line of code as average stay by condition, right? So if we take a look at this, we see I first of all set the size of my chart to 10 by 6. So 10 means the width is 10 while the height is 6. Now the next thing I'll be doing is to call the dot plot on our calculation, which I showed you earlier, and specify that I want to create a bar plot, and I'll be specifying the color as teal, which is this something like green color you're mixing here. So the next thing you can do is add title, your label, your y label, stick rotation, and ensure you have the plt.title underscore layouts. Now you can see that cancer, prostate cancer, heart attack, stroke, and fractured leg are the medical condition with the highest average stay. The next question we have is what percentages of patients were readmitted after discharge? What percentage of patients were readmitted after discharge? To do that, the first thing I wanted to do was to look at the unique values in my readmission column. I want to check if I had any inconsistent values, and using the dot unique method showed me that I have consistent values because I only had no's and yes values. So now I want to go ahead and calculate the percentage of patients that were readmitted after discharge. To do that, I need the number of people that were discharged divided by the total number of patients we have in this data set multiplied by 100. So to get the total number of patients we have in the data set, I can just call on len on my data frame and it will be telling me the length of my data frame. Now to get the length or the number of patients who were readmitted, I would have to subset for those values. So calling on the .df readmitted and specifying that I want only those values where readmission is equals to yes, and I cannot go ahead and check for the length of those values. Practically, when we are calling on the length, we are trying to say we want to see how many rows we have in those values, right? So these total patients and readmitted patients, we've been able to get the total number of patients and the number of patients who are readmitted. Now we just have to plug in those values. Now remember I said to get the percentages we'll be having to use readmitted patients divided by the total number of patients multiplied by 100. So doing that, we got a value of 26.83%. This shows us that 26.8% of patients were readmitted after discharge. Next question on my list is, which procedure are most frequently performed? Okay, so now I want to get the procedure which is most frequently performed in this hospital environment or in this data set. Remember that we have different procedures that have been performed in an healthcare facility. So among this patient, which one was more performed, or which one occurred more? So I can just call on the dot values count on our procedure column, and with this we'll be getting the number of occurrence of each procedure, so you can see that the most frequently performed procedure are cast and physical therapy, cardiac catheterization, X-ray and splint, CT scan, and medication, while the most least frequent are physical therapy and pain management, lithotripsy, delivery and postnatal care, etc. So we can also go ahead and put this on a chart, and usual, as I said, calling on the dot plot and specifying the kind of chart you want to create as bar, we quickly and easily construct this bar chart for you. Now the next question we'll be answering is, what is the distribution of patient outcome, either recovered or stable? What is the distribution? So calling on the dot values count on our outcome column and specifying and normalize as true. Remember that specifying normalize as true will give you the percentages of the values. Okay, so you can see that calling on the normalize parameter and setting this to true will give us the percentages of this value. So you can see for recovered we have 60%, while stable we have 39%. So now the next thing I'll be doing is to create a pie chart that shows me the distribution of this patient outcome. So you can see this pie chart, and we can see for the recovered aspect we have 60.1%, while the stable aspect we have 39.9%. And these were the lines of code I had to write to be able to create this chart. So I first of all save this as patient outcomes and use the plt.py method this time around. So the next question we'll be answering is, what is the total healthcare cost incurred for each medical condition? And to do this, we'll be using the dot group by method once more. So you can see that using group by value counts are one important way where you can get a whole lot of information from your data set. So using the dot group by, or calling the dot group by on the condition column and calling the dot sum summary statistics on our cost column is going to tell us the total amount that has been spent by all patients for these various conditions. So you can see conditions such like cancer have the highest amount of money being spent. So for cancer we have $1,650,000. For prostate cancer we have $1,300. For heart attack we have $1,200. Heart disease we have 965,000, and so forth. So you could see that the medical condition that have incurred more amount of money is cancer, prostate cancer, heart attack, heart disease, while the medical condition where lesser amount of money has been incurred, we have allergic reaction, fractured arm, respiratory infection, hypertension, diabetes, etc. So the next question we'll be answering is, what is the average patient satisfaction score per condition? How satisfied were these patients at the end of the treatment? And we'll be getting the analysis by the different medical conditions. So for example, you could see that for allergic reaction, they gave a satisfaction score of 5. And take note, satisfaction scores are usually over the value of 10. So people who had allergic reaction on average gave a satisfaction score of 5 over 10. And you can see that the medical condition where they had the least amount of satisfaction score, where patients were least satisfied, were patients who had stroke, patients who had respiratory infection, patients who had prostate cancer, patients who had heart attack. Okay, why conditions where they gave where patients were highly satisfied, we had allergic reaction, we had fractured arm, we had cancer, childbirth, fractured leg, etc. So you can also go ahead to arrange this value so that you can get conditions with the higher satisfaction scores up, and just like we did earlier. So I'll be leaving that for you to do, and looking at this you're able to get an idea of how you can go ahead and sort those your values. So the next question, or the next thing I did, was to put this information into a bar chart. Okay, remember I always said if you have any information that you can use a chart to tell the story much more better, then go ahead and do that. So same process, we will be creating this bar chart, and it tells us information regarding the average patient satisfaction score per condition, just like what we've seen earlier here. So the first thing that we will be doing is to use the dot group by method to group the satisfaction score by the various medical condition, and add the dot mean method to get the average values. And we also added this dot sort underscore values method to sort our data. Now the next question is, what is the average patient satisfaction score per procedure? Okay, satisfaction score by procedure. Here we looked at the satisfaction score by condition. So I would advise you to go ahead and pause this video right here and try and answer this question by yourself. When you are done with that, you can replay this video and watch the process. So to do this same process, we use the dot group by method. We group by procedure this time around, and we'll be carrying out the average value on the satisfaction column. We'll be adding the dot sort value so that we can get those procedures with the highest satisfaction score on top of our table. So you can see epinephrine injection, we had a satisfaction score of 5. X-ray and splint, we had a satisfaction score of 5. Antibiotics and rest gave us a satisfaction score of 4. Cast and physical therapy 4. Delivery and postnatal care 4. Why those procedures with the least amount of satisfaction score? We have cardiac catheterization, CT scan and medication, radiotherapy, lithotripsy, where we had an average satisfaction score of 3. I also went ahead to create a bar chart, so you can go ahead and pause this video and create this bar chart by yourself. And I also ended this video by leaving those 3 tasks to you. So I want you to go ahead and answer these questions. How many patients falls within the age bracket 18 to 30, 31 to 50, etc. So I'll be giving you a hint on how you can go about this. You can do this by creating a age categorical column and categorizing each age based on these various categories. Another question I want you to answer is, what is the gender breakdown of patients across the different conditions? So I have answered questions just like this. You can use the dot group by method to answer this. Which age group had the highest number of readmissions? So I just want you to answer these 3 questions. So this brings me to the end of this video. I hope you find this educative, interactive. If you have any topic you want us to talk about relating to data analysis and healthcare, kindly drop that in the comment section. And if you watch this video to the end, then please do it to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are not already subscribed, and ensure to like, comment and share this video so that we can reach a larger audience. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that we can get this YouTube channel to at least 500 subscribers. Bye. Bye for now and see you in my next video.